As a forest ranger, the first rule they teach you is simple. If you think you see something, no, you didn't. It's not a joke. It's survival. I didn't fully understand that rule until 2 weeks into my job. One late afternoon, while making my rounds on a peaceful trail, I felt something was off. The air was heavier, the sun seemed to set faster. Then I saw movement just off the path, a shadow shifting behind the trees. I called out, but no one answered. When I checked the spot, there were no footprints, no signs of life. I turned back to the trail, and that's when I heard it. Footsteps behind me, perfectly in sync with mine. I quickened my pace, heart pounding, trying to convince myself it was the wind. But deep down, I knew better. Back at the ranger station, I locked the door and forced myself to laugh off the fear. To calm myself, I checked the trail cam footage. Hours passed, and then I saw it. Something standing near a bear den. It resembled a deer, but stood on 2 legs, hunched, its glowing eyes locking onto the camera. Then it moved toward the tree, shoving against the trunk violently. Moments later, the feed cut out. Before I could process that, another camera picked up movement. This time, a dark figure darting back and forth, almost playing with the lens. Then it stopped and stared straight into the camera. A twisted face, too human for an animal, with glowing eyes too close together. My blood ran cold. When it suddenly vanished from view, dread filled me. It was coming. Panicked, I searched the desk and found an old emergency manual, which led me to a hidden flare gun. The instructions were clear. In a unique emergency, fire 3 shots into the sky, but stepping outside was not an option. The creature's jagged breathing was just beyond the door. Scrambling to the back office, I spotted a skylight. Climbing onto a bookshelf, I pried it open and fired the flares. 1, 2, 3. Just as I sealed the window, the creature's face appeared, grinning, revealing jagged teeth. It let out a shrill whistling scream and began slamming the glass with its hooves. Then, headlights cut through the darkness. Multiple vehicles pulled up, gunshots rang out, and the creature vanished. The other rangers entered, their faces unreadable as I recounted everything. When I asked what it was, one simply chuckled. Next time, ignore it. I never asked again. I just follow the rule. If you think you see something, no, you didn't. In 1971, deep in the Great Smoky Mountains, a park ranger named Alan Price responded to a distress call near an isolated section of the forest. A group of hikers, 3 men and a woman, had radioed for help, claiming they were trapped in thick fog and unable to find their way out. When Alan reached their last known location, they were gone. Their campsite was still there, untouched. The tents were zipped shut, food still cooking over a fire, backpacks full, but not a single footprint leading away. It was as if they had simply vanished into the fog. Alan called for backup, and over the next 2 days, a massive search began. Bloodhounds refused to track the scent, stopping and whimpering at the fog-covered trees. Some searchers reported hearing whispers in the mist, but no one was found until the 3rd night. At exactly 3:47 a.m., a single, distant scream echoed through the woods. A team followed the sound and stumbled upon something chilling. One of the hikers, James Corwin, standing alone in a clearing, barefoot and shivering, his eyes wide with terror. His first words sent chills down everyone's spine. We weren't alone in there. James was rushed to the hospital, suffering from severe dehydration and shock. When he finally spoke, his story made no sense, yet was terrifying. He said the fog moved like it was alive, shifting in unnatural ways. It had surrounded them, growing thicker and thicker until they couldn't see each other, even at arm's length. Then, the whispers started, low, muttering voices that spoke their names. One by one, his friends walked into the fog, as if in a trance. When he tried to grab them, their bodies felt wrong, too light, too hollow, and then they were gone. The last thing he remembered was a hand, pale and thin, reaching out for him before everything went black. The others were never found. No footprints, no bodies, nothing. The official report listed it as disappearance due to environmental conditions. But locals tell a different story. They say the fog in those woods isn't natural, that once it surrounds you, you belong to it. And if you ever find yourself in the Smokies when the mist rolls in, don't answer if you hear your name. You ever hear about Fort Ransom, Oregon? No, you wouldn't have, because it ain't there anymore. Back in 1898, it was a logging town deep in the woods, near the foothills, real isolated. Just a bunch of tough men chopping trees, drinking whiskey, and trying to forget whatever past had pushed them out that far. But something pushed back. The vanished logger. The first sign of trouble was Big Tom Carter, a logger built like a damn ox. One evening, Tom didn't come back from the trees. Not unusual. Maybe he got drunk and passed out somewhere. Except the next morning, we found his boots. Just his boots. Still standing, upright, like he'd just stepped out of them. No tracks leading away. No blood. No sign of Tom. Just those damn boots sitting in the dirt. A week later, more men started disappearing. Always at dusk. We'd find axes left in tree stumps, unfinished cigarettes still burning, but no bodies. That's when the night noises started. Not wolves, not mountain lions, something else. It would start as a whisper in the trees, low, like wind through dead leaves. Then, clicking sounds, not like insects, more like bones tapping together. Then the trees would move, not like normal wind. The whole forest would shift, branches twisting, trunks bending the wrong way, like something huge was stepping through, just beyond the firelight. By mid-October, there were only 10 of us left. We tried to leave, but the road out was gone. I swear on my life, it just wasn't there anymore. The sheriff, Eli McGraw, gathered the last of us and made a plan. We'd set fire to the trees, smoke the damn thing out. That night, we built a massive bonfire in the middle of town and waited. We didn't have to wait long. Just before midnight, the fire turned black. Not out. Black. Like the flames had been swallowed. And then, it stepped into town, tall as a house. Its body was made of twisting, gnarled wood, its limbs too long, too thin, and its face, oh God, its face. It had too many mouths. Not eyes, mouths. Stretched all over its head, its neck, its chest. Some were screaming, some were laughing. And in the middle, where a man's face should be, there was just a hole. It raised one hand and pointed at us, and the trees moved. I don't remember much after that, just screams, gunshots, the sound of wood snapping, bones breaking. By dawn, Fort Ransom was gone, burned to the ground. No bodies, no footprints, just a town that had been erased. I was the only one who made it out. And sometimes, when I walk through the woods, I still hear it, the clicking, and when the wind is just right, I swear to God, I can still hear the laughter.